The day I discovered my wife and best friend were together. It's a strange thing. Watching your life unravel right in front of you. Knowing that no matter how tightly you hold on, it's already slipping through your fingers. That's how it felt when my wife, the woman I'd loved for nearly a decade, left me for my best friend. It sounds like something out of a bad movie. One of those soap operas you laugh about because it's so far from reality. But that was my life. That was the reality I woke up to one cold morning. And it's something I'm still grappling with. We had been married for 8 years. 8 long, beautiful, complicated years. I used to think marriage was like this solid foundation you build together, each year adding a new layer of strength. I believed that once you laid that groundwork, nothing could break it. But I was wrong. It doesn't take much to crack the foundation, just a little betrayal. A little trust eroded. And suddenly the whole thing comes crashing down. I guess I never saw the cracks forming. Or maybe I just didn't want to see them. I met Jenny in college. She was bright, full of energy, and everything about her seemed effortless. She lit up a room just by walking into it. And I was hooked from the moment I saw her. We dated for a couple of years before getting married. And I thought I had it all figured out. We bought a house in the suburbs. Settled into what seemed like the perfect life. The kind of life where the biggest concerns are what color to paint the living room or when to plan the next vacation. For the first few years, everything was fine, more than fine. It was great. We were that couple everyone envied. The ones who looked like they had it all together. But underneath the surface, there were little things. Small frictions that I didn't think much of at the time. Arguments over nothing. Moments of silence that stretched too long. Jenny pulling away. Bit by bit. I figured it was just part of life. Part of growing older together. And then there was Alex. He and I had been friends since childhood. He was the kind of friend you never had to explain yourself to. We'd been through it all together, school, breakups, everything. He was like a brother to me. Someone I trusted completely. Alex was always around. Always part of our lives. Jenny liked him. And I thought that was a good thing. It was easy. Having your best friend and your wife get along. I never imagined that their friendship would turn into something more. Something that would eventually tear my life apart. It started small. As most things do. Late-night conversations between the two of them. Which I chalked up to their shared interests. Jenny had always been more of an extrovert than me. And Alex was easy to talk to. I didn't mind at first. I trusted them both. Why wouldn't I? They were two of the most important people in my life. But then things started to change. Jenny would come home late from work and barely speak to me. I'd catch her texting Alex at odd hours. And when I'd ask her about it, she'd brush it off. Saying they were just friends. It seemed innocent enough. But something inside me started to gnaw at me. I didn't want to be that guy, the paranoid, jealous husband who couldn't handle his wife having male friends, but the signs were there. And I couldn't ignore them. The turning point came one evening when Jenny told me she needed some time to herself. I thought maybe she was stressed from work. Maybe she just needed space. But something about the way she said it made my stomach turn. She didn't look me in the eyes when she said it. That night, I found myself alone in our house. The silence thick. Suffocating. I paced the floor. Trying to shake the feeling that something was terribly wrong. A few days later, I found out the truth. I came home early from work. Something I never did. And found them together. Alex and Jenny. In our house. The house we built together. The house that was supposed to be a symbol of our life. It wasn't some dramatic scene. No shouting. No confrontation. It was just them. Sitting together in a way that made everything clear. I didn't need to ask any questions. I didn't need any explanations. I knew. In that moment. That everything had changed. They didn't see me at first. I stood there. Frozen. Watching the two people I loved most in the world sitting together like they were the only ones who mattered. When they finally noticed me. There was no yelling. No drama. Jenny just looked at me. Her face pale. Her eyes wide with guilt. Alex couldn't even meet my gaze. I don't remember what happened after that. Not in detail anyway. It's all a blur now. I think I left the house. I think I drove around aimlessly for hours, trying to make sense of something that couldn't be explained. How could they do this to me? How could Jenny, the woman I had promised to love and cherish, the woman who had once been my whole world, betray me like this? And Alex, my best friend, my brother, how could he of all people be the one to shatter my life? The days that followed were a haze of numbness. Jenny packed her things and left. She didn't fight for our marriage. Didn't beg me to take her back. She made her choice. And she chose Alex. I was left standing in the wreckage, trying to figure out what had happened to the life I thought I had. I went through the motions, but inside, I was hollow. Friends and family tried to help, but there wasn't much they could do. What do you say to someone who's been betrayed by the two people they trusted most? Everyone wanted me to talk about it, to open up. But what was the point? Talking wouldn't change the fact that my marriage was over. That my best friend had taken my wife. The people who were supposed to stand by me had been the ones to hurt me the most. The hardest part was accepting that there was no going back. There was no way to fix this. No way to undo what had been done. Jenny and Alex were together now. And I had to learn how to live with that. I had to learn how to move on from a life that had been ripped out from under me. To build something new out of the ashes of what I had lost. It's been months now. But the pain is still there, lurking beneath the surface. Some days, it's easier to forget, to push it down and pretend like it doesn't matter. But other days, it hits me like a wave, overwhelming and relentless. I can't go to the places we used to go. I can't hear her name without feeling that familiar stab of betrayal. I avoid Alex's calls. Not that he's tried to reach out much. What would he even say? What could he say that would make any of this better? There are moments when I wonder if I'll ever trust anyone again. How do you trust after something like this? How do you rebuild your life when the very people who were supposed to protect your heart are the ones who broke it? I've asked myself those questions 1,000 times. But I still don't have the answers. Maybe I never will. People tell me that time heals all wounds. But I'm not sure I believe that anymore. Time doesn't heal, it just dulls the edges. The wound is still there. Still raw. Still aching. Maybe one day it'll hurt less. Maybe one day I'll be able to think about Jenny and Alex without feeling like my chest is being torn open. But for now, I'm still in the middle of it. Still trying to figure out how to move forward. The house is empty now. I've thought about selling it. About getting rid of everything that reminds me of the life I had. But something keeps me here. In this place that used to be filled with love and laughter. Maybe it's hope. Or maybe it's just the fear of starting over. Either way, I'm still here. Still living in the shadow of a life that's gone. Every now and then, I catch myself wondering what could have been. If Jenny hadn't left. If Alex hadn't betrayed me. What would my life look like now? But those are dangerous thoughts. And I try not to linger on them for too long. There's no point in wondering about a future that never came to pass. All I can do now is move forward. One step at a time. It's not easy. And some days it feels impossible. But I've made it this far. And maybe that's something. Maybe that's enough for now. Life has a way of throwing curveballs when you least expect it. And I've learned that there's no way to predict what will happen next. But I've also learned that no matter how much your life falls apart, you have to find a way to keep going. Because at the end of the day, the only person who can put the pieces back together is you. And so here I am. Still standing in the ruins of what once was. Trying to figure out what comes next. It's not the life I planned. Not the life I wanted. But it's the life I have. And maybe, just maybe, that's enough. For now. At least.